The intersection of endurance sport, health, fitness, and life. Challenging conventional ideas and empowering people with the science of self-propelled motion. This is the Endurance Experience Podcast, hosted by Tony Rich.
My name's Nichole. I'm a cancer dietitian. I'm going to debunk 10 top myths when it comes to cancer nutrition. Number 1, sugar does not feed cancer. You can have sugar. If you cut out sugar, it's not going to change your cancerous growth. And if you go ahead and have sugar, again, it's not going to change the cancerous growth. Number 2 is that GMOs are safe. You don't need to worry about them, and there's actually only 10. In order to wash your fruits and veggies, you don't need to soak them in vinegar water, buy those expensive sprays. You just rinse them under water. Skip the alkaline diet, skip alkaline water. Do not take high dose supplements, as those can increase risk. You do not have to go vegan after a cancer diagnosis. You can still reduce risk and have meats. Skip all the juicing, the detoxes, all those really complicated regimens to try to reduce risk for cancer. You don't need any of those, and a lot of those are scams. Dairy is safe. It reduces risk of colon cancer. Do not fear breads or carbs. Whole grains help reduce risk. And lastly, soy is a great choice to have. So anything over 200% daily value will then become a free radical and can cause cell damage, cell DNA damage, which would then increase your risk for different types of cancer. So in a sense, it really can be any. The ones that have been studied more to show an increased risk specifically is beta carotene supplements, increased risk for lung cancer. However, you can get beta carotene so easily just from eating a variety of fruits and veggies. Just try to eat that rainbow. Also, it's important to note that even though vitamin C has not directly been linked to increasing risk of cancer, a lot of those vitamin IV bars that are very trendy are very dangerous because they have, for example, vitamin C in very high doses. It's really easy to get your recommended intake of vitamin C, which is like a fruit or 2 servings a day. That's it. And these IVs or vitamin C supplements are at such high levels that they actually cause very unpleasant side effects: nausea, vomiting, bone pain, hair loss. So not only does your liver have to process all these really high dose supplements, it can also cause a lot of unpleasant side effects. So when it comes to current data on does stress equal increasing risk of cancer directly, no, there's no data to show that. So if you're someone who has stress, which that's part of being a human, if you have high levels of stress, no, that's not equaling a cancer diagnosis. But there's definitely an effect on your health with stress, without a doubt. And also what ends up happening is high stress can then lead to other behaviors that then would directly increase risk of cancer. So like maybe you would turn to tobacco or alcohol to manage stress. Well, then now that's going to increase risk of cancer. Also, a lot of adults will suffer from disordered eating patterns or emotional eating. This is not your fault. This is probably just throughout trauma and experiences in your life that have created stress and not so great relationships with food. And then you may, with high stress, you may be eating more, causing weight gain. Again, I want to stress this is not your fault, but there can be an indirect relationship there. It is really good to find ways to de-stress, but I think that we all know that and we're all doing our very best. I recommend to implement more exercise to reduce stress. Don't you just hate it when you finally realize, okay, fruits and veggies helps to reduce cancer risk? You go to the store to buy it, and then you see the prices of all the organic GMO fruits and veggies that you feel like you're supposed to buy to reduce risk for cancer. Well, good news. My name's Nichole. I'm a cancer dietitian. You do not have to buy organics to reduce risk of cancer better. Those fruits and veggies are not superior. They are not pesticide free. They use pesticides, but good news is that the pesticide residuals on organics and conventional fruit are at very, very safe levels. Organics is marketing. It's not better for nutrition. It's not better nutrient composition. Buy conventional produce, save your money, have more cash so that you can just go buy more food, more fruits and veggies. You don't need to buy organics to reduce risk for cancer. People who tell you that you need to watch out for non-GMO, there's only 10 GMOs, by the way, so many things will say non-GMO and there won't even be a counterpart. For example, your oranges will say non-GMO, there's no counterpart. GMOs are safe. You don't need to buy organic to reduce risk for cancer. Just eat more fruits and veg that fit within your budget. If you're a cancer survivor who has been newly diagnosed, or you've been going through treatment or even post-treatment, this video is for you. Hi, my name is Nichole Andrews. I'm a USA cancer dietitian. I have served thousands of cancer survivors in my private practice. What I want to share with you is 5 amazing different mindset mantras that my clients have shared with me that I want to share with you. Number 1 is you are not a cancer statistic. So, someone can give you a lifespan or an expectancy or an outcome. That is not your story. You are more than a number. Number 2, you are not defined by your cancer. It is a part of your life. It is a journey. It will be a memory. It will be something you'll have to recover from, but it's not the whole person of who you are. Number 3 is you don't have to rush overcoming emotionally a cancer diagnosis and everything that goes with it. Number 4 is having a positive mindset. It will help you to make better choices and feel better through treatment. And 5, it's also okay to have those hard days. It doesn't mean that you're less.
My guest on the podcast is Nichole Andrews. She graduated from Washington State University with a Bachelor of Science in Food Science and Human Nutrition Dietetics. She is a Registered Dietitian and known as the Oncology Dietitian. She's the author of the best-selling book, Sugar Does Not Feed Cancer. She's considered one of the most influential cancer dietitians and specialists internationally. She's been a practicing cancer dietitian and nutritionist for over 12 years, serving adults and pediatric cancer survivors during and after cancer treatment. And as you can tell from the clips, she is passionate about empowering survivors to take back control with nutrition and lifestyle from the inside and out. She operates and owns Nutrition with Nichole LLC, which provides nutrition coaching and counseling to cancer survivors worldwide, based in Tri-Cities, Washington. Since founding her company in 2019, she's worked with thousands of adults and pediatric cancer survivors worldwide at all different stages of treatment and beyond. So I have a conversation with Nichole about her background and the early catalyst in oncology that drove her to her life's work. We talk about her book, Sugar Does Not Feed Cancer. I did get the book and have been reading it over the last several weeks. It's amazing. Highly recommend it. The link to the book is in the show notes. And I have a conversation with Nichole about the origin of this myth that sugar feeds cancer and why it was important to write her book. We also have a conversation about another myth of starving cancer and why that's problematic. And we talk about the steps people should actually take with nutrition if they do get a cancer diagnosis. We talk about exercise and how and why excess adiposity or body fatness can increase risk for cancer and precisely how many cancers that we know of. And Nichole gives our listeners the top science and evidence-based choices people can make that can help minimize the risk of contracting cancer. And then finally, Nichole talks about her business and how she helps people, cancer survivors, as well as professionals. I had a great time with this conversation. Nichole is someone that I've admired for some time. She's been an advocate for the science and evidence-based approach to nutrition, exercise, and lifestyle. And I highly recommend getting on her social media in the show notes. So without further delay, I give you the Oncology Dietitian, Nichole Andrews. All right, I am on with Nichole Andrews. Thanks for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Tony. I'm excited to be here.
All right, I've been a follower of Nichole for quite some time now. She is probably one of my best professionals and content creators in the field of nutrition and dietetics. She's really fun to watch on Reels and TikTok. Just for our listeners, if you can just tell everyone your handles for those platforms.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to. Come on, join me over there. It's oncology.nutrition.rd. And it's the same handle on both TikTok and Instagram. And yeah, come on over.
Very, very entertaining. She will have you dying laughing and also learning a lot about nutrition and, doing a lot of myth busting in the process. So I want to talk to you about some of that. Your book, Sugar Does Not Feed Cancer, and all the myth busting that you do in your book. And I want to talk about exercise and exercise role in prevention, and some top science and evidence-based choices people can make to minimize the risk of contracting cancer. And I want to talk about some of the services that you offer. But first, if you can just tell our listeners about your background in oncology and nutrition, and what was it that drove you to take this course in life, and take as much time to answer that question.
Yeah, thank you for asking. That's nice. I like to share kind of how I came here. So I've worked in oncology now for about 12 years. I got my bachelor's in science from Washington State University. Go Cougs. I went to school in Pullman. Yeah, I went to school in Pullman, and then I went through dietitians. We all have to go through a dietetic internship. So that was like a year long. Then we pass our boards. Very exciting. A lot of school, a lot of science, but it's all worth it. Because now I can share all that with you guys and understand how to reduce cancer risk and translate that. But my first job, I actually worked in a hospital, and as a clinical dietitian, oftentimes you'll work a few different floors. So I was, fresh out of school, just excited to, be in the hospital helping. Anyways, one of those floors was oncology. And I just naturally found myself going to that floor. Like the first thing during the day, the last, floor I'd stop at was oncology. Right. I was on a couple of different floors, but it was just oncology is where I wanted to be, because there was so much evidence how nutrition made an impact on them. And a cancer diagnosis, we never know really why someone's getting a diagnosis, and so they're coming in there being like, hey, I need to know what I can do. I don't, we don't really know why this came on. This is really unlucky. What can I do to improve my nutrition? And so often they would have already been told so many myths. And, registered dietitians were all about the facts, right? To give you back that freedom around food. So for me, it was enjoyable to give them back like food choices, just have the relief around eating, because they're already, these treatments are intense. They're in appointments all the time. They need to be eating well. And so the last thing they need is these myths. So yeah, and as you know, Tony, the myths are out of control. So I just naturally really just fell in love with helping cancer survivors to give them, that freedom with nutrition. Because when it comes to during cancer treatment or reducing risk of cancer, nutrition is so powerful. And I don't know what your experience has been, if you have loved ones, with cancer or thing like that, or seeing a friend with that, but they they hold back from so many food choices because of the misinformation. Like sugar feeding cancer is a myth, having to follow an alkaline diet and, only buy organics, and people can't really, they can't afford that. Mm-hmm. And they don't have to do any of those things. So it just was a place I'd like to stay. And then also not just the myth busting, but when I think one of the things that was really rewarding for me is, so when I start working with some of my clients now or in the hospital, I'm a lot more high touch now with my own practice, but seeing someone come to me and not have a lot of energy, they're during cancer treatment, they're afraid of food, they've lost muscle, and start to eat again and regain that energy, and just see the nutrition transform how they feel and have better treatment outcomes. I just really want to keep that up. So those are kind of all some reasons of why I decided to do it. And I really, really love oncology, and all my clients. It's a great place to be.
Yeah. And especially something like, cancer. We all know someone or family, friends who've been diagnosed or had to succumb. And when you look at the landscape and you see all of this misinformation, every armchair expert,
yes,
everyone's got their at-home remedy. And it's really dangerous. It's really dangerous when you're giving this advice to people who then forego real treatment, conventional medicine, in favor of ultimately pseudoscience and other types of ideas.
It's not fair. It's really awful how they spread those lies.
Yeah.
On people who really want to feel better, and chemo, is scary. Sure. And yeah, you're right. It's dangerous because it doesn't affect the cancer, and the cancer grows.
Right. Right. It's like I say, alternative medicine that has evidence has a name. It's called medicine.
Yeah. There's millions of cancer survivors who have, gone through treatment, been cured, and now they're living their life cured from the medicine,
Right. Yeah, exactly. So you wrote the book. By the way, it's an excellent book. I highly recommend. Sugar Does Not Feed Cancer. You can go get it on Amazon. I've been diving through it for the last few weeks now. So let's dive right into the myth that caused you to write the book and the title of the book. So where did this myth come from? Obviously, this myth must have been pretty pervasive for you to title the book this. So where did this myth come from? And why was it important to write this book and specifically use this title?
Yeah, that title was definitely on purpose. So many cancer survivors who have, been able to, follow me on social media, or, they've had a great oncology team that has also told them sugar does not feed cancer. Please do not fear sugar. They've absolutely loved that title of that book because they want to get that message out. The survivors who understand, that sugar does not feed cancer, they're tired of that myth. And I hear this like every single day. And it's wrapped in a lot of like people who are uneducated, not the survivors, but like maybe people around these survivors telling cancer survivors they can't eat sugar and things like that. And so it really affects them and their quality of life. And so, I love, the audience is great. They're like, we love the title, but where does it come from? Okay. So I'll break it down to you. I mean, it makes sense why people would think that if they don't have a nutrition background or a sciencey background, So this is the deal. So cancer cells do not act like healthy cells at all. They are just not the same thing. Okay. So the other complicated part about cancer, and also is why, you have to get surgery. Hopefully it would just be surgery, right? That's still invasive, but then you wouldn't have to get other treatments, right? But unfortunately, a lot of times people will need to get chemo, immunotherapy, radiation, other therapies to kill off cancer because it is so complicated that it grows and divides and spreads at rates that's not like a healthy cell at all. Researchers are researching cancer all the time to make these great medicines to target it because these cells they're wild in the way they never slow down. Right. Never slow down. So yes, it's true that cancer cells do uptake more nutrients faster than healthy cells. The thing is, though, is they don't stop in the way that they uptake carbs, protein, and fat. And so, yes, cancer cells uptake carbs, protein, and fat, which I guess you could say like the sugar. So it will uptake more than a healthy cell. So technically, cancer cells feed off of all nutrients. The thing that's important to know, and researchers know that too, they know that. And we're not trying to hide that or anything. The thing is, though, you cannot slow down or manipulate cancer with your diet or with food. Unfortunately and sadly, if someone was not eating at all, which I would never want, and some people will try that. Cancer survivors are told, you have to fast, you have to starve, the cancer will continue to grow, divide, and spread just at its regular old rate. And the healthy cells are then affected. Healthy cells don't act like a cancer cell. They need nutrients, and they need it all the time. And they can't gobble up nutrients wherever they want. Like cancer cells, they can create new pathways. They have like this little environment, this little like bubble around wherever the cancer is to make sure there's nutrients on its way coming in before it even needs it. It's wild. The science is wild. Healthy cells are just not like that. Well, what happens with cancer survivors and why it's frustrating about this myth is that they start cutting out foods, thinking maybe they can, because someone's told them and they're misinformed that they can control the cancer's growth or slow it down or whatever by not eating. But the only thing that happens is their organs become weak. They become weak. Their healthy cells can't repair after these treatments. They become weak. They become malnourished. And so, yes, it's true. Cancer cells uptake nutrients, but no, it cannot affect it, the way that you eat or take out foods. So let's say you ate a lot of sugar. You ate tons more. Are you going to speed up its growth? No. It's got its own agenda. It's got its own metabolism set. It's got all its crazy, weird, pathways of everything. So researchers can't even understand and everything about cancer. They're still, trying to research, hey, how does it do this? How does it grow like this? Right. So that's a frustrating myth because a lot of times people, what's kind of frustrating for cancer survivors is it's sort of like, it's inappropriate and rude to be like, why are you doing chemo? Like just omit sugar. Like that would be so much easier. If you really could,
I wish it was that easy.
Like that would be amazing. You know, just have cancer just wither away with, you just stop eating ice cream. I mean, come on, people. And then also the other thing about not being able to, you have to remember, like, cancer cells on a petri dish. So when you see all these studies come out, they're like, oh, you can kill cancer really easily, or just put, like, baking soda on it. Okay, a cancer cell in a petri dish is not going to be the same as cancer cells wrapped up in all around healthy tissue inside the human body. So whatever you're eating doesn't just go land on the cancer cell either. So it's just a lot more complex than people realize. And a lot of cancer survivors get it. And that's why I titled my book that. So they would be like, oh my gosh, finally someone gets it. So they would, trust me to read it to understand, like, hey, what are the facts? So you just can't control it with food. And that's a big misconception. And what will improve treatment outcomes the best is being a very well-nourished individual throughout treatment.
Yeah.
And that comes from eating more food, more calories and protein. And so if they have fears around eating, they're not going to do that, and it's going to affect their outcomes. So yeah, this whole narrative of sugar feeds cancer and starving cancer is really backwards. We want cancer survivors eating very well.
Yeah. And if you think that you can stop cancer by just not eating sugar, well, there's a Nobel Prize in medicine just waiting for you if you can prove it empirically. You write don't go on TikTok, write your paper, hire your research team, write your paper. There's $1 million prize, Nobel Prize for it. And
absolutely.
You would be the most celebrated scientist / doctor in the history of medicine if you can prove it empirically with peer review, double-blind, randomized controlled trials and such. Obviously, that hasn't happened, because that's not true.
Yeah, exactly. Way to go, Tony. I love it. It's just not true. It's just not true at all.
One other thing I wanted to ask you on the flip side of the sugar thing was the artificial sweeteners. Artificial sweeteners are safe, yes?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. There's always been a lot of talk about, 0-calorie sweeteners, artificial sweeteners, all of them, all the different types on the market. So none of those are increasing cancer risk. None of those cause cancer. And that's a huge, it's a hot topic. People think it can, especially recently. There's a lot of the WHO updated and reaffirmed the acceptable daily intake of artificial sweeteners, like around aspartame being safe. And people want to just target that as being a reason to causing cancer. And, the science and research is there. It's not increasing risk of cancer. It's not causing disease. It's not destroying your gut. Poor artificial sweeteners, they get a pretty bad reputation, but it is a good way. Like, if you like it, you definitely don't have to have it. No, you don't have to have it at all. Totally. But let's say you want to, flavor your foods or your beverages and have less calories because you want to spend your calories somewhere else. That's perfectly acceptable. They don't increase risk of cancer. They are well studied. One of the most studied foods are the artificial sweeteners. And I think if you enjoy them, just add them in, and they do not increase risk of cancer. That is correct.
Yeah. Excellent. So let's dive a little bit more about this idea of starving. So this idea that you can, I think what people are thinking is, you can sort of choke it off by not eating. Why? Explain a little bit more why that won't work. And then if someone does get a cancer diagnosis, what's the recommended protocol? I can imagine you wouldn't want to starve, but what should they do?
Yeah, that's a great question. So again, kind of back to what we were saying, is the metabolism of a cancer cell is just so different. They use nutrients in a different way. They, you could even argue it's inefficient and of how they use so much glucose, and they don't yield, as many, ATP or whatnot. There's so many different things going on with cancer metabolism. It's just unique. It's not like a healthy cell. So when you try to change the way you eat, it's not affecting cancer's metabolism. It already has its system of how to uptake whatever it is, glucose, protein, fat, things like that. If it needs to have extra pathways or extra blood vessels in order to uptake nutrients, it has that ongoing. It doesn't slow down. I think that's the crazy part and the frustrating part, and why we want to be, getting to treatment and getting our treatments as soon as possible, being strong to get those treatments, because there's no slowing it down with the way that we eat. So, and what happens is it really affects your healthy cells. Your healthy cells will take a huge hit. If you were deciding to be like, I'm going to try to starve this cancer, So first off, that's not how it works. Cancer is not affected by how someone eats.
Right.
Okay, the cancer cells are not, but the healthy cells are, and then you begin to feel worse. So I don't recommend it. All evidence-based practice is for cancer survivors. Usually a couple of different things happen. So some can have hypermetabolism, which means with cancer just being present in the body, different types of cancers, all of a sudden that individual now just has a higher need of they need more calories to just sustain day to day. So maybe they were eating, 2,500 calories, and now they have cancer. All of a sudden their body needs so many more calories just to sustain, just because cancer is present and it's changed their body metabolism. So not only should you not be starving, it's very likely you're going to need more calories.
Right.
Okay. And then the other part about that is, okay, so cell rebuilding. So think about when you have surgery or chemo or radiation, every day you're getting hit. And of course, these medications are prescribed and built to be as least invasive as possible, but we know it's going to hit those healthy cells. Okay. So what is the main thing that an individual would need to rebuild cells? It's protein.
Right.
And so you got to be eating more. You got to give your healthy cells. And you're like, well, I don't want to feed the cancer. Well, okay, maybe it's going to uptake nutrients. I mean, it's going to do that no matter what. The treatments are going to kill it off and the cancer is going to be gone. What's going to be left? Your healthy cells, your organs. Are they going to have enough nutrition to withstand and sustain and get you through these treatments? That's really what we want to focus on, is those healthy cells and healthy organs. They need good nutrition.
Right. And I have dog-eared on your page 121. How you can promote weight gain during cancer treatment. You have avocados, whole eggs, plant oils, nut butters, hummus, cheese, high-fat dairy beverages, whole grains, granola, beans, potatoes, brown rice, oats, tofu, nuts.
That's an awesome list right there. Yum. I love all those foods. Woo! And they're so high in nutrition. Heck yeah. Yep. Yeah. There are some people who gain weight during treatment. There are a lot of people who lose weight, and we want to get in high calories, high protein. That was a beautiful list right there. I'm glad that you shared that. Those are great foods.
Dog-eared. And again, I say, go back to it. If it were that easy, there would be so many people still with us if it were that easy to just starve for a month and then kill cancer. I mean, it's just bananas what people
it is hard. And I think a lot of these people haven't heard the stories or had the loved one in front of them trying these alternative therapies, saying no. They aren't there, where us professionals are there, and we hear the stories and we see the people, or we hear from our clients, their friends who decided, hey, I don't want traditional medicine. I'm just going to try to cure it with these herbals or these, and their cancer grows and they die, and I think what's really difficult, and what I've seen a pattern of, which is just makes me frustrated and sad, is that maybe an individual's on the fence about whether to get chemo or not, and they decide not to, maybe from pressure from family and friends. Well, what happens is the cancer continues to grow, and then now it's not able to be treated. They may decide later, okay, it didn't work. We tried these natural ways. Let's try the chemo, and now it's grown. And that, oh man, that makes me sad. So it's just, I think education is so important. Absolutely, people can choose what they want, but if you want to kill off that cancer, you want to make sure to get your treatments, absolutely, and be, if you eat right. See here, Tony, this is the thing. If you eat well, like more calories, more proteins, like the foods that you're mentioning here, you actually will feel not so bad through treatments. You want to reduce severity of side effects, eat right, start moving more. It doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. And a lot of those pictures online, it doesn't look good to be a cancer survivor, right? Those pictures online look scary. Well, that's not how my clients are. They're up there doing their things, they're eating the right foods, they're feeling like themselves. So there's a lot of hope there to just figure out the right nutrition, and you can make it through these treatments and feel okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Yep. Okay. So let's go into some prevention topics. There's a lot of endurance enthusiasts that listen to this podcast, marathon runners, triathletes, and such. So, you talk about exercise in your book. And so one of the questions I want to sort of drill down on is excess adiposity or body fatness.
Mm-hmm.
And does that increase cancer risk? And if so, what types of cancers or how many cancers, just to get an idea of the exposure of that. I know that's a sort of sensitive topic sometimes,
Oh, it's okay. No problem. Yeah, no, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, absolutely. So an excess adipose tissue on the human body will increase risk of 13 different cancers. Okay. So it's not ideal to have an excess level of adipose tissue. Now, what's important to note is we are not talking about a specific number on the scale. We're talking about overall, your body composition. And so I encourage and recommend all the time ways to move more and eat different to lower their fat tissue. This is not about a certain size or number on the scale. This is about increasing muscle mass or just reducing adipose tissue as a few different things are happening. So first off, estrogen, like hormone sensitive cancers, are driven by estrogen, which does come from your organs, your adrenals, your ovaries, but also can come from adipose tissue.
Mm-hmm.
And so, lowering adipose tissue, and it doesn't even have to be the full on, whatever that individual's goals are. If they're 100 pounds, 50 pounds, whatever they're, just a little bit of weight loss, a little bit of reducing that adipose tissue is going to help. So unfortunately, one of the things that's going on is researchers found, and this is all, you can definitely read this all in my book, but you also can read more. World Cancer Research Fund, they have all the data. They use the continuous update project, talking more through this. But so when there's an excess of fat tissue in the body, it is harder for the body to signal around and repair any damaged cells, damaged DNA, because that's just a normal part of being a human. As we age or go through life, our cells and our DNA get damaged every day. Injury, sunlight, aging, whatever. It's just a normal part of being a human. Well, they repair too. Our bodies are pretty cool. It goes in and repair. And when you eat plant foods, more plant foods. So I'm not saying you have to go vegan or vegetarian, but when you eat more plant foods, it will repair that. Well, when you have excess adipose tissue on your body, it interrupts that process. It's not as efficient. So, there are certain things that high level of fat tissue are doing. Certain cancers will you'll have increased risk of if you have adipose tissue in certain areas of your body, like colon cancer, for example. But I think that the important takeaway is, how can you move your body or get stronger in a fun way for you? Not scrutinize your size or the scale, but like, hey, how can we eat different or move more that you love that can lower that adipose tissue? Because yeah, it's true. It will increase risk of 13 cancers.
Yeah. 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 And I say it's a sensitive issue because there's a whole, obesity stigma happening. And I know we're trying to pull a lot of the obesity stigma back, but at the same time, 13 cancers, that's a game changer. So that means you can lower your risk of those 13 cancers, lowering your body fat percentage. That's an important fact.
Yep, it's important, and you don't have to eliminate all the body fat. It's just even a little bit is going to count. You don't have to change your weight. Just get moving more, and let's find ways to move that you enjoy and love.
Right, exactly. So, what would you consider the top science and evidence-based choices that people can make that can minimize risk? Exercise or some others that you know of?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So the first, I think a good one to point out is, a lot of people, kind of what we talked about is, okay, are there any foods that are off limits? Are there any foods that are increasing risk? Like soy is a huge myth, for example. They'll always say soy is increasing risk or giving you estrogen. That's not true at all. Soy is a plant. It has phytoestrogen. Eat more soy. We love soy. But the two foods that will increase risk at any consumption, will be alcohol. It's going to increase risk of mouth, throat, breast, liver, colon, and stomach cancers. Okay. So, and this includes all types of alcohol. The ethanol, which is in alcohol, is going to increase risk of those cancers. And then the other one is processed meats. So those are the two that if you're going to omit, so processed meats would be like deli meats, sausage, bacon, hot dogs, things like that. Those are the two things you omit.
Cut down on my red wine and charcuterie boards.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know charcuterie boards that are processed meat free. I need to make some more content on that. And I think I have another book coming out, and it'll talk about that too a little bit more, have those recipes. But yeah, so like, let's say you love processed meats. Well, just try to lower it, or you drink red wine and that's something you do in your routine. Just lowering it is going to help. But besides that, all other foods, you can have and enjoy. And I think that's just really important to note. Like, that's it, Nichole. Only two foods I can have. All the other food, like, yes. So that should,
really?
Give relief. Yeah. That should give relief to everyone. So then, what can you do and focus on to reduce risks? Well, omitting those two is best, or limiting them. But honestly, just adding in more plant foods. It does not mean to go vegetarian or vegan. You can if you want. no problem, but you don't have to. So basically, cancer prevention plate is kind of like this. So 2/3 of your plate, 2/3 of your meal or your snack should be those plant foods. Plant foods are fruits, veggies, whole grains, beans, nut seeds, legumes. Those are called plant foods. Those are all of them right there. So 2/3 of your plate, when you look down at your meal, you're like, all right, do I got my, and it's fun because I mentioned whole grains. So I'm talking about like bread and pasta, which is awesome, right? People always think that's off limits. It's not. Then that other 1/3, okay, what do we put in there? Lean proteins would be like turkey, like lean red meat. You can do some red meat up to 18 ounces a week is fine. So like lean red meat, turkey, chicken, seafood, fish, dairy, lean dairy, like 1 or 2% is fine. Some fats, maybe some olive oil, avocado oil in there. If you want to have some butter, you can. Just note that it has, saturated fat. And then a dessert, your chocolate, your, ice cream, whatever is in that other 1/3 of the plate. And each meal should be like that. So those plant foods that you have the majority of your meal are going to significantly help you reduce your risk of cancer. So that's usually the first place I would recommend people to start, is just become aware. If you're the kind of person who literally goes the entire day and doesn't have a fruit or veggie, like, let's not feel ashamed of that. Let's just get aware and then start slowly adding them back in to get to that goal of 2/3 of your plate. The other thing is definitely the exercise component, just because that's going to help you reduce fat tissue. It's going to regulate your gut health, which is going to be important to reduce risk of colon cancer. And then another thing is to not take super high dose wild regimens of supplements. That's another thing that gets a lot of people in trouble because there's such a push for that. There are some good supplements out there that can help you, like if your doctor prescribes it. If you need to restore, your iron's low during treatment, or your treatments are over and now, you need to get your calcium and vitamin D up. Okay, great. I'm fine with that. But like when you go out and take like 10, 12 supplements a day that some, who random person told you need to take, and it's like $800 a month or whatever to be on that regimen, like, no, don't do that. And that's
200% RDA.
Yeah.
All of that. Yeah.
Yeah, let's have it, if you want a multivitamin, we don't want ones that have like 800% daily value of something. Keep it lower than 200% or lower. Exactly. Ask your doctor, have them take labs. And then we talked about the lowering the fat tissue, which will come from more plant foods, more movement, not doing the supplements, removing that alcohol, removing those processed meats. I think those are good places to start. There's so many more things I could mention, but I think those are the best places to start. And I definitely wouldn't, if you're someone who's like, okay, I want to start this, I want to reduce risk for cancer, just one goal at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like too much to do. Yes, because then you get overwhelmed and injured and you quit, and I don't want that. So just one goal at a time. We got lots of time.
Yeah.
And you'll start reducing risk. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. You've been so generous with your time. What was the thing about alkaline water? What was the thing the myth of that? I think.
Oh, I know. So what researchers have found is that throughout like some cancer tumors, for example, they'll notice that there's different pH levels throughout a tumor, or there is even like a different pH surrounding certain cancers. So this is just specific to these cancer cells, okay, not the human body. And I think that's where this myth comes from. So a lot of people will say, hey, you want to never get cancer, follow the alkaline diet, drink alkaline water to create a certain pH in your body to be cancer-free or to treat your cancer. This is like ridiculous because the body is it will tightly regulate that blood pH. Like, woof, like if your blood pH, I'm like fumbling over my words because I'm so passionate about this. If your human body blood pH is off, you would be on like a ventilator. You'd be on dialysis. It is serious. You can't change your blood pH. So by drinking alkaline water or following an alkaline diet, it will not touch a thing. It will not do a thing to your body at all. You have a tightly regulated blood pH, your lungs and your kidneys, that's it. And alkaline water is a huge push now. I see it everywhere for sale. You can drink it if you like the flavor, but please note it's not doing anything but hydrating you.
Yeah. So-called cleanses. It's like you have kidneys and a liver for a reason. That's the best thing that can cleanse you.
I know. We have our built-in detox system. We just got to take care of our bodies so that detox system can do its thing,
Yeah, exactly. All right. Wow. So the time just melts. So I could talk with you for hours about this topic. So Let me
Yeah.
ask you this: if people want to work with you,
Mhm.
someone who has a cancer diagnosis, what services that do you offer that would be helpful to someone, whether it be just for dietetics or if someone actually has a diagnosis?
Oh yeah. So I serve cancer survivors, whether before, during, or after treatment, and also individuals that may have a family history and they just want to reduce risk. So I offer one-on-one coaching. It is a very high level, high support coaching. You can, work with me, for whatever amount of time that you want. I have a couple different packages, and that's really good because it's just we work so close together. So that's one option. And then the second option would be a membership. I have a membership. It's called Cancer Simplified. It's a month-to-month membership. That's going to be a lower investment and you get access to so many resources and even to me to answer your quick questions. So if you're someone who loves lots of support one-on-one, if you're someone who likes to go through materials on your own, I'd recommend my membership.
Yeah. Where do they go? Is there a link? Well, I'll put the link in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yep, you'd find me on social media, or you'd go to oncology.nutrition.rd on Instagram, and you can either link in my bio or send me a DM, or you can go to my website. It's called the oncologydietitian.com, and you can just send me a little message there, and we'll get you set up, and I can share all the information, the rates, what it would look like, if we're a good fit, all those good things. So on my website or Instagram is the best way to get a hold of me.
Excellent, excellent. I'll put all the links to in the show notes as well as the book. So go there right now and get it.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah.
And what do you do for other professionals or other coaches? You have a offering for? I want to
Yes.
sign up
Yes.
too.
Yes, I'm a business coach. Yep. So I am a business coach. I help other people that, work in oncology, other dietitians, nurses, anyone who has a business online. So I business coach, and that's been so much fun for me just working with my peers because social media is so cool. You are able to be creative and have fun and help people around the world that have been looking for you. So I teach people, how to build a virtual practice, reach and find those ideal clients so that they can help them. So yeah, if you want business coaching on how to grow a very successful, awesome business, you can DM me over there on my cancer nutrition account, or dietitian.ceo is my business page. And yeah, I'd love to chat all with you and see how we can build your business so you can help people and just build something great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be signing up for that. All right.
Yeah.
She is Nichole Andrews, the Oncology Dietitian. The book is Sugar Does Not Feed Cancer. Go get it right now. All right. So, Nichole, thanks again for coming on to the podcast.
It's my pleasure, Tony. I appreciate you.
Thanks again to Nichole Andrews. What a great conversation. You can find her at the oncologydietitian.com, and you can go and pick up her book in the show notes. Sugar Does Not Feed Cancer, the complete guide to cancer prevention, nutrition, and lifestyle. And if you're on social media, you're missing out. You're missing out if you don't go and follow her. Her content is enlightening. It's entertaining, funny, and very educational at the same time. Just from watching her content, I can tell we share the same sentiments about science and evidence-based approaches to nutrition and lifestyle, and recoiling at some of the armchair experts that are out on the internet that often just spew potentially dangerous information to people who are either survivors or recently received a diagnosis, and they're getting this very bad advice. They often forego conventional medical treatment in favor of what has been colloquially called complementary alternative medicine. And as you've heard me say many times on this podcast, alternative medicine that's backed by evidence has a name. It's called medicine. Because if any such alternative medicines were ever proven by empirical evidence, it would become medicine. It will be subsumed into medicine, and it would cease to need the moniker alternative. So that's how you can tell whether or not something is viable or not. I don't understand how people can get so easily tricked by such obvious fakery, right? You never go to an alternative lawyer if you need legal help, or you never go to an alternative mechanic if your engine is on the fritz, and you certainly never get on a plane piloted by an alternative airplane pilot. And of course, you'll find the people out on the internet, oh no, it's just big pharma. It's big pharma with their profit motive. It's big pharma. They are trying to hide the real cure for cancer, and they're doing it purposely. They make the silly claim that they don't want you to know that you can naturally cure cancer with natural, quote-unquote, natural remedies, like starving it off or just simply stop eating sugar. Any serious thinker can point out the flaws in this way of thinking. So my suggestion is, when you go out on the internet and you're looking for people to follow, always look for people with experience and qualifications, like Nichole Andrews, doctors, registered dietitians, PhDs, or more broadly, people and professionals that use the scientific method in their approach to analysis, evaluation, and recommendation. Are they playing by the rules of science? Thank you very much for listening. See you next episode.
Follow Event Horizon Endurance Sport on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter for training programs and services. To become a member of our Endurance Institute or for a complete archive of podcasts, log on to our website, eventhorizon.tv.